All right, welcome to another episode of the Organic Fitness Podcast with me, your host, Coleman Power. Who else would it be? So, we have a couple of questions pulled together from social media platforms, either be it TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and some people that are coming through the likes of the Organic Fitness program at this moment in time. So, I'll run through the four main topics we'll be discussing in this week's show. So, it's how do I personally schedule my day and what do I recommend? Okay, we'll be going through different topics and how in a 24-hour day and through a 7-day week, how I do it and how I recommend it. Then thoughts on magnesium for anxiety and its other benefits and why magnesium is so important for the body. Next one we're touching on is low carb foods yet high protein. That's really important because not enough people are consuming enough protein on a daily basis. And the final topic we'll be discussing is my preference and training styles that I do myself, because what I do is what I recommend. All right, so those are the four main topics we'll be discussing in this week's show. It'll be a 30-minute episode, so you know exactly what's coming. So you stay tuned for that. We don't need to go any more than 30 minutes. I suppose that's enough for anybody to listen to, for me myself, but to get in and can retain the information that I pass on to you, the listeners. So if you're looking to get a question either answered or would like a shout out on the podcast, you can also send in these anonymously. You can just send it to any of my social media platforms. That's Coleman Power Organic Fitness, and on all areas, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and you also send it to my email. So straight away, all right, so how do I schedule my day? My day starts quite early. So I'm an early riser, because I'm extremely productive and I like to get, we'll call it, a time of the day when people are still asleep and my phone isn't constantly buzzing. So the fact is I get up at 5:30, but that's not the hard part. It's going to bed early is really the most difficult and challenging part, because most people end up start texting you, or things might be what coming up to open again, and we'll call it. The fact is that it's the most difficult part for me in particular. So I actually set an alarm at 9 o'clock to remind myself to get ready, to either brush my teeth, to do a couple of stretches, to incorporate in a routine and a habit, and so that that's made into a more of a lifestyle now than anything else. That's one of the first things. And then after that, then I have a power hour, whether I do my workout first thing in the morning, nobody can take that away from you, and it's done and dusted and it's in your back pocket. And the rest of the day, your attention can be towards work, towards family members, towards whatever else you're currently trying to do throughout the 24 hours in the day. So then I have the likes of, we'll call it, either sowing seeds. I'm currently growing a little bit of my own veg and supplying local shops that are great, and a couple of box schemes. So that typically goes up until lunchtime. So my main meal, first meal, I will wait maybe an hour or two, supposed to have my first meal of the day. And then lunchtime, I would incorporate in, I suppose, a salady type lunch. And sometimes I do a bit of a training session, either live with someone down here. And that's something that I fit into my day. And that, geez, I wouldn't be training twice in one day, that's for sure. But it's about what having a training session before a main meal is what I would recommend. Why? Because you use your food that you have consumed as a direct fuel source to either maintain a current weight that you have, either reduce down your body fat and just keep your energy levels where you would like them to be. So then moving on then back to me in particular, I would then go and do another couple of hours working on veg and things, and then 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock comes and I would have either a snack, maybe it might be something light like some peanut butter on a slice of either sourdough bread or rye bread. The rye bread you can get at the likes of Super Value, there are other stores available. It's just something that gets me to have a small bit of fuel in my body so that I can then use and maximize the benefits of the rest of the evening before, again, if I haven't trained that morning. I'm just giving you 3 examples of different times that I train, but if I am going to train for a period, a block period of maybe a month or 6 weeks, I'll stick to that. I'll either train first thing in the morning, I'll train at lunchtime before my meal, and or I'll train just before my dinner. And I suppose then in the evening time it's cooking, and a lot of the time I would make one social media video in relation to either the nutritional benefits of it, how to cook it, and or in between. So I suppose that's my day set up in itself, and I have that written down. And when you have it written down, it's much clearer, and you be as specific as you possibly can, because the more specific you are, the more likely are you to do it. Okay, so that's something I recommend to everybody, and that I train, that I mentor, that I coach. And then with the likes of people on the organic fitness program, I want them to do the exact same. But what I also get them to do is I get them to use the likes of a tracker such as, we'll call it, any of the ones that are able to tell you what foods contain certain amount of proteins, whether it be my fitness pal or other ones that are other ones available too. That's the one that I have used in the past and recommend to people because it's quite user friendly. So what that actually does, it just really gets you to understand foods as a whole, what contains a certain amount of carbohydrates, what contains a certain amount of fats and proteins. And that's not for life. I'm intuitively able to understand what foods and what they look like in portion sizes. But for the majority of people starting off on their fitness journey, they don't understand that, and they just need to use that app to give them a better understanding of foods, because tracking for life isn't sustainable. But however, if you want to be specific in losing and reducing down your body fat, I highly recommend it, definitely for a 6-week period. And that's really going to give you the baseline of understanding that, oh yeah, my God, I've actually been way overeating on the likes of my porridge first thing in the morning. And actually in my porridge, I used to make this mistake. I used to have oats in the morning, probably about 60, if not 70 grams of porridge, a big bowl of porridge. And you used to have toast, and then honey, and then berries, which are all carbohydrates. All those things that I used to have, which are deemed healthy foods, they certainly are. And the thing is that's important to remember, that you need to balance your meals, balancing, bumping up your protein content, whether it be from anything that has high protein and low carbohydrates. Typically, we'll be touching on as well in the third question here. And then remembering that once you do that, you have an understanding of what it looks like in a bowl, and you don't have to weigh it out each and every morning. And that's what I want people to do. I want people to understand foods that are key to them, and that they know that the foods that they're having are making them healthier individual, and they're eating the likes of those berries. The berries are great, but making sure they're also organic. Why? Because berries are one of the foods that are highly commercial in commercial production, sprayed. Okay, and then the likes of their skin is where the sprays are left, and we are the end consumers of that, whether it be blueberries, whether it be raspberries, whether it be black currants, and or blueberries, if I didn't mention those already, strawberries, raspberries, and all those things are best getting organically or growing your own. The whole idea of it is we should be eating foods that are grown local, that are grown chemical free, or that you can have a small bush or a plant that you can get your hands on, that you know is the best thing that you can possibly get. Why? Because you know the source, you know the grower, you get a relationship to where your food comes from is important as well. And then the likes of what days should you train and what days should you take off? I recommend people do Monday, Tuesday, day off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and as a result of that, either have the weekends off completely, but you can also add in one of those days with maybe getting an extra day and a fifth day. And some people are more advanced, even do a 6th day, but there's definitely a recommendation for rest days, okay? Because your intensity can't be what it should be as a result of you training. If you want to train 7 days a week, that's not sustainable, okay? The whole idea of it is training doesn't have to be for a long period of time. 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes is absolutely positively tons. And if you tell me that you don't have 20 to 30 minutes a day to train, you don't have, and you're looking to reduce down your body fat, you don't have a weight loss problem, you have a time management problem. You need to sort out what I would call your day, okay? And writing down, you call your perfect day, what time you get up at, what you have for breakfast. As a result of that, then what you do in work is not your own time if you're not self-employed. As a result of that, then you know what times you have, what you're going to do after work, what exactly meals you have. And as a result of that, then the next point I'm going to touch on is the likes of adding in your focusing on foods. Okay, so training is one side of fitness and foods at the other. So then focusing in on meal preps, and meal preps can be either overnight oats. It's a really simple one on the organic fitness program that people are using right now and getting massive advantage of it. It's using the likes of 40 grams of oats, which is only 25 grams of carbs. That's typically like just over half it. As just a general example of what contains. And I know that, like my times tables, and that's just important to, excuse me, to clear my throat, for people to know and remember that foods are key. And then getting that meal prep in, whether it be overnight oats, last night's dinner, next day's lunch, Smoothies are a breadwinner as well. As a result of that, you know exactly what's in it. You're putting in oats, you're putting in yogurts, you're putting in fruits, you're putting in greens as well. And greens are so important, okay? A lot of people will tell you of the plant-based community, oh, well, I'm not neither vegan, I'm not neither vegetarian, I'm not low carb, I'm not keto, I'm for optimal health. I want people to understand that the foods that you eat are so important, and choosing them chemical free and getting them organically and getting the ones that suit you, and not picking a diet just because someone on social media had it, or because such and such a friend lost weight doing a particular diet. And remember that we're all different. They have different lifestyles. They have different requirements. They have different heights, different sizes, different fitness goals. That is so important. And remember that you need to find the diet that works for you. And the best type of diet is the one that you can eat foods that you enjoy, that you can get local, you can get fresh, and it's sustainable for you long term. It's a long term game, lads. Fitness just isn't for 6 weeks. It's not for 90 days. It's not just for a year. It's not for 2 years. Okay. And remember, if you wanted to switch up your diet, if you wanted to add in anything, any food at any time of the year, whether it be an event, and I'll just touch on the likes of, if you're going into ketosis, there's a lot of people in keto, and the fact is that they can't consume a certain amount of carbohydrates, and that's one of the main macronutrients of the body's first source of energy. I'm not going to tell you that not to do keto. I'll train a certain amount of people that are on that particular diet, but remember that that's suiting them and their lifestyle right now, and it is beneficial, and they're super beneficial. And I won't get into it just here on this podcast. I might do a separate podcast specifically on the benefits of keto if that's something you'd like to hear more about. So then with the foods, okay, doing a weekly shop is so important. And when I train people on the program, they get a shopping list. Okay, and that makes it really helpful. So you go in, you get your shop, and it has the likes of spices, whether it be turmeric, it has ginger, cloves are all three high antioxidant foods that I recommend you to have on a weekly basis in your meals. Making tea and warm drinks out of it. You have maca, cacao powder, or other things to add in that are from plant-based sources. Then you have the whole foods. You have your high protein. You have your carbohydrates, whether it be lentils, whether it be pasta, whether it be sourdough bread, or oats, or another simple one that I really want people to eat more of, because they're such an easy carbohydrate and they're easy to digest, especially if you steep them. So, and then making sure you're getting those things. And a lot of people will say, geez, organic is expensive. It's cheaper in the long run, especially now country markets opening up. You can go to or grow your own. The fact is, we go to country markets first if you can't. The thing is, when you go to country markets, farmers and producers of food, they need to sell the food. And if you tell them you're going to come every week and you're going to buy such and such a spinach item off them, or kale, or any greens for that matter, throughout the spring and summer months, they can do you a deal. And that's where you come into understanding that food then is going to be cheaper if you know the farmer. And a lot of people think then, oh, it's still pretty expensive. But then again, slow down for a second. A lot of people are using the likes of vitamin C tablets. You're using the likes of skin cream, and you have issues with your underlying maybe inflammation in the body. So that could be three things that can be easily solved with foods. Whole foods do all those three things. Okay, they speed up muscle recovery. Okay, they do. And a lot of people tell you, maybe broccoli, for the example, plant-based individuals will tell you, I'm not shooting down vegans here, but the fact is they'll tell you there's more protein found in broccoli than there is in steak. Don't believe that for a second. It's completely different. You have to eat a whole lot of broccoli to consume the certain amount of amino acids that are comparable to steak. So I'm not advocating steak either. I'm the man in the middle. I'm giving you this information. You put it into practice in which way it suits you. So protein, 100 grams of broccoli or any typically greens would be in the region of 3 grams of protein. So that's just worth noting yourself. So 3 grams of protein, and it's recommended 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kg of body weight. So that's important, especially if you're training. And that's one of the main things that I get people to do on the training program that I currently running. So then I suppose that moves me on to like the thoughts on magnesium for anxiety. Okay, magnesium is super beneficial. Okay, it's also found in the likes of dark leafy greens, along with vitamin C and iron, things that people are taking from in the form of supplements. So you can get that from whole foods with the added advantage of fiber. I just hit my pen off the mic there. If anyone didn't hear that, apologies, but this was a big bang in your ear. And the thing is, magnesium, my thoughts on it for anxiety. Magnesium is so important in the diet. Okay, it's used over 300 different processes in the body. Energy production being one of them, relaxing the muscles, and reducing anxiety is one of the three main ones right there. And it's been so commonly a common deficiency due to the fact that highly processed and refined sugars pull magnesium out of the body. So if you're having a diet that's, we call it below par, or with highly processed foods that contain a high percentage of sugar, it's something worth noting that you need to bump up your magnesium. It's going to increase your energy levels, it'll relax your muscles, and it produces GABA. GABA is one of those neurotransmitters found in the brain that can be beneficial towards reducing stress in the body. It's recommended to get 300 milligrams per day. And you can get a lot of that from whole foods. And if you can't get it from whole foods, then it's the thing that you could add in additional supplement form, because magnesium is also used for energy production. So if you're looking to increase your energy levels, get in and on the magnesium. What foods are high in magnesium? Dark leafy greens. So whether your kale, whether it be your spinach, whether it be your rocket, arugula, minsuna, all oriental salads that are from the brassica family. Cabbage also contains it as well. But if you're cooking cabbage, I don't want you to cook it like Granny Murph and boil the living daylights out of it. That's something that's going to take away a lot of the vitamins and minerals and left in the water. And that was just something that was one individual contacted me saying that, what about cabbage? And I said, yes, it is. But what way are you cooking it? It's steaming the death out of it. So that's an important point. And the magnesium is found, as I said, in all those greens, and it's also found in beans. This is the plant-based diet approach that I have. Beans are also beneficial. Why? Because they also have fiber. Fiber is good for gut health. Gut health is linked in with improved and increased absorption of other vitamins and minerals in your body that then can lead to more energy levels. When you have more energy levels, you're much more likely to be productive. When you're more productive, you're much more likely to train because your day is complete. And as a result of that, you're much more likely to reach your fitness goals. These are small key things that all add up. They're like, it's kind of like the spiral effect. When you do one beneficial thing, you improve in your diet, it affects your work output. When you improve on your work output, you improve on the likes of what you get done in a day. And as a result of that, you're training, you have more time for training. And that's what I want people to do. It's the whole foods, whole life approach to improving your overall health. All right. And what I'm going to always do to you is always going to be recommending your whole foods first, and then supplement what you can't get in from your diet, because that's what supplements are. That's what they do. And that's in their definition. They supplement what you cannot get from your diet. And then I suppose touching on all those different vegetables that are high in magnesium. And another question I just pop in here in relation to soup. Soup is super nutrient dense. Why? Because you can put in all different vegetables. But what it typically is it's high carbohydrates. We call it, could be sweet potato, could be potatoes, could be carrots, could be onions, could be leeks, could be garlic. And then you put in maybe some greens. You're making a homemade soup. Could put in spinach, kale, you name it. And a lot of people are putting in dandelions, which are also good for detoxifying the liver. That's quite big now at this moment in time. And actually on my TikTok, I have a video on how to make and use dandelion leaves in your diet, because they are actually high in a type of fiber called inulin, which are good for naturally increasing your gut microorganisms. And also people are taking supplements for fiber, which is crazy in my eyes, because there's so many different things out there that can increase your fiber intake, and vegetables being one of them. Bosha. And by God, it's free greens out in your back door. Grab it. The petal is also there. But check out that video. It's on TikTok, and it'll also be on YouTube as well as this podcast too. So, but touching on the likes of that soup. Soup, remember, is a super healthy, beneficial, nutrient-dense food, but it's a carbohydrate. Most people are overeating on carbohydrates. So my preference is, it's not that healthy people don't eat soup. I certainly do. I might even make a soup now that I'm talking about it. My mouth waters. So the fact is that soup is carbohydrates, and people end up eating or overeating on carbohydrates. Why? Because everything contains carbohydrates. A high percentage of things contain carbohydrates, including all fruits and vegetables. So if you are having soup, make sure you add in the likes of a protein source with it, whatever one that suits your current diet. That's my preference. That's my sixpence on the likes of soups. Yeah, great. And then moving on, lovely, to the next question is segueing on to low carb foods that are high protein. Okay, this is important for most people, because when they come to me, it's one of the main things after, we'll call it, their diet that they're not consuming enough of. Protein foods. But what are the high protein foods that are low carbohydrates? So here we are. So one of the main things, egg whites. I have to take out the yolk there, and it's not that the egg yolk is bad. No, it's not. It literally contains half the protein, but it also contains fats. I just touching on the likes of this as a particular food that is high in protein and low in carbs. That is the most natural thing that you can possibly eat, a whole egg. But the low fat is what you're looking for in this suggestion and in this particular question. And this question comes through from Jason. on social media. Jason, 1, 2, 3, 4. How about that? Egg whites. So that's the first one. Why? And it's because it is nutritionally dense in high in protein, and it's complete protein, which means it contains all 9 essential amino acids that we must consume from our diet. And the next one then on top of that is cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is something that I do have, and it's on the new e-cookbook that I actually did. This is the first time I've actually mentioned an e-cookbook on the podcast. So that's the new e-cookbook that I have out, and people who sign up to the program get that absolutely positively free. It's something that has over 40 recipes with 60-second videos of me as a cook. And I'll touch on this egg whites, moves on to cottage cheese. So cottage cheese is a complete protein that actually is a natural probiotic, which means it aids in gut health, and it's high protein. And you can get the ones that are low fat, but there's also ones you can get that are organic. And and what the added advantage of that is, you reach your protein targets, and protein keeps you fuller for longer. And that's what the main goal of me training people is, to keep them fuller for longer, because for the most part of people that I train, is for weight loss, and incorporating in high protein foods really does help with that. I'm taking a drink here because my throat is quite parched. You wouldn't believe how difficult it is to speak for flat out 30 minutes without taking a drop. So cottage cheese, other benefits of it are gut health, natural increase of microorganisms in your body. They are probiotics. I have different benefits of probiotics in your diet that you can check out on a separate podcast. Just not too long ago, I had a dietitian on talking about gut health too, just there 2 weeks ago. So the next one is cottage cheese and lean meats. Okay, lean meats, whether you eat these or not, just recommendations to foods that have high protein and they're low carbs. So lean meats, again, are a complete protein. They contain all 9 essential amino acids. Those would be chicken, fish, turkey, and eggs. Okay, and that's the leaner versions of those. Fish is also beneficial towards the likes of, it contains selenium. Selenium is good for your thyroid function, for those people who have issues with your metabolism and you would like to speed that up. That's important too. And I suppose yogurts again, try and get them organic. Why? Because the difference between organic and conventional is the fact that yogurts and their produce from the dairy, which where they're made from, don't contain the antibiotics, because that's the main differences between organic and conventional. They don't contain are not treated with the likes of antibiotics during their life cycle, and that's something that has a negative effect then on the end consumer. You are what you eat. That's exactly us coming in and on to consuming less toxins in the body. When you have less toxins in the body, your body can run at optimal energy levels. Because I used to have the energy that I have right now. I'm going to tell you that eating organic foods and local foods and fresh foods is the best thing you can do for yourself, man. Your health is your wealth. Okay, and I really want people to start consuming the foods to benefit them as much as they possibly can. And I suppose then the last one then would be, and I just wanted before, the yogurts. There are different types of yogurts that are higher protein than others. Okay, there is an Irish product called Glenisk. It's high protein, it's low carbs, and it's low fats. So that just means you're hitting that one macronutrient that you're typically low in. You can get it in shops in Ireland at the minute. There's also ones based in America. I can't remember off the top of my head that brand, but I will be putting it in the show notes, so stay tuned for that. It'll be below here. If you're watching on YouTube, just click down there. And that's something it's worth noting. It's getting something that's typically high in the protein. And how do you do that? You should be able to either use your app that you have, and or reading the backs of the labels is very important. Okay, and that comes from understanding foods, and either or sending me a message, and I'll either send you one straight directly back, and that just helps you to understand what foods contain what. And that's what I recommend. And then the final one, and always as it happens, supplements. A protein supplement can typically be low carbohydrate and high protein, which you can add into your oats, you can add into a smoothie, you can have in the likes of in either protein bars or homemade nut bars that I make myself. And these are little tips. But again, that's the last thing I recommend you. But protein supplements are important for people who want to reduce down weight. So are all the other foods: egg whites, cottage cheese, lean meats, fish, yogurt, if you eat any of those products, and the complete protein sources. And that's why it makes it much more for plant-based, we call it vegans. They have to bump up their protein sources from supplements a little bit more so than others, just due to the fact that like I said, the complete proteins, tofu and tempeh and hemp seeds, they have higher carbs and they have fats in it too. So that's just worth noting. I suppose, and the last one then, I'm going to touch on for the final 5 minutes. My training style and my preferences to workouts. So what I do is what I recommend. I recommend people using the likes of added weights. whether you have the advantage of training in a gym right now. In Ireland, we currently don't have that facility, but training at home is just as good. But remembering that slowing down the movement and using large muscle groups, whether it be the likes of a squat, whether it be the likes of a bent over row, the likes of shoulder press, and or a push up, using the legs, the chest, the back, and the shoulders. Those are your four main large muscle groups in the body. When you start to use those, you tear more muscle fibers. When you tear more muscle fibers, you burn more calories, and that helps you either build muscle, lean muscle tissue, and or reduce down your body fat. And if you have more muscle, what ends up happening then is that's where actually carbohydrates are stored, because carbs are stored as glycogen in the muscles. So if you have larger muscles, whether it be your legs, your glutes, your ass, your chest, your back, your biceps for the guys, the thing is you then are able to eat more foods. Who doesn't want to eat more foods? Put that down. So with the likes of the workouts that I do myself, minimum requirement for me and anybody, a trainer, mentor, or coach, is 20 odd minutes. 20 odd minutes using the likes of maybe 50 seconds, between 30 seconds and 50 seconds of an exercise with a little bit of a break in between. And then after you finish those workouts, whether it be 4 or 5 different exercises, or if you're on the gym program, it's no more than 45 minutes. The key then to the workout that I use are a finisher. The finishers is, I suppose, a type of cardio. Okay, cardio can come in the form of a run, or some people are trying to also keep fit for a sports event, or just like to keep their endurance and like to also get outside, which I do and enjoy as well, which I also recommend because sun exposure is so important. I'm going to do a separate podcast on the likes of sun and the benefits of it. Mr. Organic Fitness is on it. So then outside, if you are doing it, is a bit longer, okay, because your intensity isn't what it could be. But then if it's an inside finisher, if you're on the likes of a mat, in a room, in your bedroom, in the living room, you're doing a high intensity finisher. High intensity finishers help you tap into your fat stores. That's the main advantage of high intensity finishers, okay? So that means that your glycogen levels, your energy levels went from 10, 8, 6, 4, and 3. You're on 3. As a result of that, then, if you just did your weight session, you wouldn't then directly tap into your fat stores. So then the finisher is used to finish off your glycogen, then use your body fat as a direct fuel source for the likes of you reducing down your body fat on your body. That's my preference. And actually for the outside one, I use this myself, is sprinting from the likes from one electricity pole to the next, okay? Then taking a break, walking the next, so 30 seconds on for the outside, more intermediate to advanced, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Starting in the first week, it's 5 rounds of high intensity and then 5 rounds of rest. Okay, so you're done and dusted in 5 minutes, and it's in the first week, and then it's progression. So as the training goes on, you have to change up the stimulus, because you keep doing the same training at the same tempo with the same weights, the same finisher, your body's going to get used to it. Your body is so intelligent, it's able to, we'll call it, build up resistancy, but we have to change it up. Once you change it up, the body's like, oh, I'm not sure what's happening now, and then I'm going to have to use my reserves. What's the reserves? Like your booster pack. It's the fat we got stored, whether it's in your booty, it's in your midsection, or wherever it is. Back typically is one of the areas that I hold, and there's a high percentage of my back. And I'll tell you a quick little example about that. Twice I've got my body fat percent checked. I don't recommend it. Most people, pictures are absolutely fine. But I was in at a doctor, and one of them said, God, you have actually a fat back. And I was shocked. I was shocked at the time. But that was just, I suppose, a simple get to know you, Coleman, kind of a insight there. But everybody holds their fat in different areas. Some people hold a high percentage of fat and they're underneath of their arms, their midsection for most people. Why? The midsection is typically the most is the place where your vital organs are found, whether your kidney, your liver, your heart, all around that midsection of the body, and your lungs there too. That's where the body is trying to protect. Okay, it's a defense mechanism. Your body is actually designed to protect you. And if you overeat and consume foods, typically carbohydrates or processed items on a regular basis, that's where it's going to store itself, because it's actually thinking that it's what we'll call it, trying to survive, putting it into survival mode. But incorporating in these strategies, such as how to schedule your day, starting writing it down, making out a list of what your perfect day is, thoughts on magnesium, we touched on high fiber foods, high protein foods, low carbs, and my training style and preferences. So I suppose thanks very much for listening to the duration of this podcast. And if anyone would or did gain any advantage of this, I would highly appreciate it if you share it on social media. That really helps me reach out to more people. And or if you give me a review, I would really appreciate that. 5 stars if you thought it deserved 5 stars. Other than that, I have places on the Organic Fitness program coming up next month. If you want to book your place, hit me up. And suppose finishing off. This comes out on a Thursday. It's called Friday Eve, but whenever you get to listen to it, stay tuned, stay classy, and keep it organic.